why not? On the morning drive, heading into work, thought I would discuss today Bitcoin, the way it's being overshadowed by the market, and my thoughts on it. So, SpaceX is getting all the hype right now, and I guess the question is AI and SpaceX stealing Bitcoin's thunder, or is there a more fundamental reason for its lack of interest? And so, over the past year or so, we've really seen this narrative take off. I mean, it's been brewing and growing for years now, but really accelerating to a peak over the last couple of years. SpaceX, Nvidia, the AI narrative. And meanwhile, you had Bitcoin do its what seems to be usual thing. And I might get a lot of hate for this, but it seems to me years the 4-year cycle has remained intact for Bitcoin, despite many calls for a super cycle. What's the 4-year cycle? So the 4-year cycle plays out like this so far about 4 times now since the inception of Bitcoin. You have you have Bitcoin, which functions as in terms of the supply and demand. It goes ahead and cuts incoming supply, that is, by half every 4 years, and so you have a reduction in supply that hits, and typically that kicks off your bull market. That is usually about 1 year. Sorry, that's usually gonna be 1 year prior to your peak, and then at your peak, you then see a 1 year decline, 2 years of growth in a bull market. Again, you have a halving, you have an excitement phase in the bull market, and then you have another year of silence and poor pricing, right? And over the past decade or so, we've seen a reason. There's always a reason for Bitcoin to lose momentum and lose traction for that window year while it gets rejected off of its new all-time high and resets. This time we have AI stealing its thunder, and let's say the politicization of Bitcoin, I'd say. However, the prior time you had the not Bitcoin itself, but digital assets were unfortunately, let's say, infested with companies that were taking great advantage of the sector, of investors. Sam Bankman-Fried, chief amongst them. Speaking of, we have a trial coming up. We have a appeal trial for him coming up. Past times before that, it was Mount Gox, where a huge exchange was busted for similarly being a pyramid scheme, and that gentleman just got a pardon, I believe, but double check me on that. So you always have something every 4 years that gives Bitcoin a silent period, right? And we are right in the midst of it. That silence we're hearing right now is a signal. And if we follow that signal and we follow the typical trends, the post all-time high year around Q3, Q4, July, June, maybe September, October, latest in that area, you have typically a low and then a reset to the bull market. That this doesn't just happen in in Bitcoin. This also happens in traditional finance, and I'm personally looking for a low in some of my software stocks that I'm more interested in at this time, coming up in this next month. June low, and then we go, let's say, right? And so I personally am watching the SpaceX hype, watching all the air get sucked out of the market for other investment opportunities, even some of these software stocks, for instance, that I have my eye on, but Bitcoin especially, given its historical consistency every 4 years, hitting a new low and around that Q3, Q4 of the post all-time high year. Keeping an eye out there. I personally will be nibbling as we go, trying to just see if I can pick up some of the more distressed periods. And honestly, I'm not I'm not saying right now isn't the perfect time. There's a part of me that is thinking, yeah, like maybe we do go lower, maybe we do see a $35,000 Bitcoin. I think that's probably unlikely given the the momentum over the decade is slowly um, has slowly consolidated as we have more and more investors and the price balances out, right? It's less volatile with a higher market cap, and so we're seeing less giant swings. I believe since we saw less giant highs this past cycle, not that was bad, we're likely to see less giant lows. And so we are, in my opinion, close to that bottom. And I think that keeping an eye out between now and October and nibbling at convenient points for you or for the market, um, moments of fear, perhaps, like for instance, in this coming week with the Federal Reserve potentially giving us hawkish statements about the economy going forward. These are moments you might just dip your toes into the market or even potentially put in large chunks of money. There have been studies that show that large chunks of money investments of large chunks of money are often more profitable than DCA or dollar cost averaging. This is because if you're paying attention to the right moments and you're buying in fear on stocks with low momentum but good fundamentals, you can often make a stronger and more consistent profit. So, dollar cost averaging being safer, as with anything safer, you often lose that opportunity for larger growth, right? And so that's always up to you in terms of where you want to land on the safety curve, let's say. Oops. So, anywho, those are my thoughts on the market right now and where I'm keeping an eye on. Where I'm keeping my eyes at, right? I have SpaceX on my mind a lot. It's going up, and I'm potentially considering the trade there. If I see a low come in soon before the 15-day unlock period for early investors, there might be a short-term trade there. However, this is not where I'm keeping my money or my mind for the long run right now. So, anywho, have a fantastic morning, Tucson, and take care.